Lola and the Adventures of an Inner Child. For ages 8 to 108 years old. Chapter 1. Lola and Her World. That's Lola, hanging out with her two-legged and four-legged friends. Among the things she likes to do are dancing, coloring in, eating sushi, and chillin'. Above all, Lola is an animal lover, and whenever she saw an animal in a cage, she'd do her best to set it free.
Being bored and lonely is no way to live. Be free,
said Lola.
At school, she wished she didn't have to spend so much time sitting in a chair and memorizing for so many tests and exams, because she'd rather learn by doing stuff.
Sometimes she wished that someone would set her free. Lola went to lots of nature protests, where she met lots of amazing people. But she didn't understand why humans would destroy their own home. "Oh, this environmental crisis makes me feel sick," said Lola. Lola had hoped that the politicians would fix the crisis, but seeing how they behaved, it didn't seem likely.
They avoid answering good questions and always blaming someone, and it feels like they always wear a mask to hide their own true feelings. All this emotional dishonesty, it just means I can't trust them. But I don't want to blame the politicians, because when they were little boys and girls, society probably taught them to just get on with it and to ignore their own feelings. I don't want to blame them, but I need to realise that I can't put all of my hope in their hands, especially with our environmental and social crisis. I need to do something myself. I just don't know what.
One day, after a cool protest with her cousin,
Hello.
they decided to celebrate with some sushi. As they twiddled their thumbs waiting for their food, Lola looked at the wrapper of her cousin's chopsticks. It said,
"Fall down 7 times, stand up 8.
The courage from this message gave Lola a glowing warmth in her stomach. Then she saw that her chopstick wrapper said,
Find your ikigai?
The glowing warmth suddenly turned cold.
Maybe it's Japanese for dragon?
Why don't you look it up?"
said her cousin. So she did. Certainly didn't look like a dragon.
I still don't understand what it means.
"I guess it's when all the important stuff happens at the same time."
said her cousin.
Zing!
Lola felt like she'd been struck by lightning. She was totally inspired. And when the food finally arrived, she gobbled it all. Delicious. As she lay in bed that night, she asked herself the question, what is my ikigai? She had no answer to this, but it led to another question instead. What do I love to do? Her mind went blank. Nobody had ever really asked her this before. The thought of answering this question made her body shake. She didn't know where to start. All she knew was that she'd need to be brave, to go out and try new things, and to follow the good feelings. Chapter 2. The Search for Her Ikigai and Following the Good Feelings. While walking her dog, she decided to take a different route to the one she normally took. She stumbled into a strange building. It was called Eagle's Nest Theatre, She felt her heart beat faster, and her feet seemed to guide themselves to the front door. She didn't know why. Oh, I feel terrified. Or am I just super excited? Said Lola.
Being on stage was an entirely different learning experience. Her body felt inspired to move. The air was buzzing with energy and her skin tingled. She'd never felt more alive.
I'm not sure if I'm in the mood for this. It might not be my thing. Besides, I don't like the music,
said Lola nervously as she watched all the different shapes and sizes wobble, strut, twirl, jump, flail and fly, all covered with sweat and smiles. As her friends encouraged her to join them on the dance floor, Lola went bright red and she wanted to hide. And she noticed she was tapping her feet. And so she realized that she didn't just want to watch. Maybe I'm just super excited, she said to herself. So she closed her eyes and started breathing deeply. Oh, she still felt super awkward. But slowly, she started to find her groove. And then, as she really went for it, she no longer had to think where to move. It was like her body knew what to do.
Dancing had awoken the wisdom of her body.
Next, she joined a sharing circle of moves and breath with her mum and dad.
From the outside, it didn't look very interesting, but she noticed several sleeping animals nearby, so there were clearly some good vibes here.
Why do you do such a boring activity?
When my body's relaxed, then I feel great. And sharing with friends makes it more fun.
Throughout the session, Lola was amazed how much she needed to fart. She tried really hard to keep her farts silent but deadly. Yoga had sparked Lola's curiosity and spirit,
which brought her memories back to the church she used to go to before her family had moved house. It was called the Tabernacle. It didn't look like an ordinary church. There were no crosses. Instead, there was a statue of Jesus with brown skin playing a guitar.
It was a joyful place. I never felt any pressure to believe in anything. And they didn't even mind when the little ones had uncontrollable fits of laughter. Lola had been to other churches where laughter was strictly forbidden. But too much seriousness only made the kids laugh even more. Oh, golly, do I miss my friends from the Tabernacle.
After her memories of being angelic in the choir,
now I want to be naughty.
And she wanted to have a go at being a clown. Clowns in makeup scared her, and the pressure of making other people laugh scared her even more.
It was only through humming to myself that I relaxed enough to enjoy it.
And then, for a short moment, she let herself be the goofball weirdo of her dreams. And people loved her for it.
In the same way that animals are funny and lovely just because they're being themselves.
Lola loved this heart-in-your-sleeves honesty. After being a clown, Lola wanted to be an artist. So she volunteered to join a group of street artists. Painting on the wall felt freeing for her.
Because when I was growing up, adults always told me not to draw on the walls.
And she'd always thought she wasn't good at art because she couldn't create images that looked like the real world.
But when it's just an exploration of shapes and colour, oof, it tickles my heart.
After the colourful teamwork of painting, next Lola had a go at football. She wasn't sure about watching games on TV because she was embarrassed how players cheated and lied to the ref. But when she played with her mates, that was a different matter. One memory in particular stayed in Lola's brain. They were playing their fierce rivals Wellington Academy, and the opposition had a breakaway 3 against 1.
Little Fran was the smallest player on the pitch, and she'd been left exposed as the last defender, facing 3 huge attacking players from Wellington.
Suddenly, Fran let out a hair-raising scream.
You won't get past us!
As she launched into a crunching, goal-saving tackle. Those words would become well used by Lola and her teammates. Even 10 years later, as they queued to get into a nightclub, Lola said the famous words,
Oi, you won't get past us.
to stop some cheeky chappies who were trying to jump the queue. Her Auntie May had an allotment, and she had asked Lola to help her with it. Lola had always been worried that she wasn't good with plants.
'Cause loads of plants had lived in my room, but all of them had died rather quickly.
And hearing her auntie talk of permaculture had made her believe that it was all too complicated. Until she put some seeds in the ground and gave them water and her attention.
Then the little magical seedlings came to life,
And she watched as they grew into beautiful plants.
loving all the worms and bees and ladybugs and butterflies along the way.
One day, the two of them were messing around. Lola's dog Leroy and Aunt May's dog called Lollipop both joined in too. They were painting mud on each other's faces when Lola had a doubt.
Isn't the earth dirty?
No, my dear. This earth has no nasty chemicals or poisons in it because we only do organic farming here. This earth is wonderfully healthy and full of life,
said Aunt May. Lola had heard stories at the nature protests that modern farming was killing the soil.
And these nasty chemicals also kill the bees and the butterflies, the worms and the ladybugs.
But there were so many different stories that she just didn't know what to believe anymore.
and that's why I grow it myself, honoring the planet with our paws in the earth.
Auntie May, your garden is beautiful.
Thank you. It's not just about having a healthy food. It's also a place for inspiration and imagination. My friends and I love together here. Feels great, doesn't it?
It certainly did.
Chapter 3. Putting it all together. As the garden was bathed in the evening sun, she told Auntie May of her journey of self-discovery and how she felt complete.
Well, almost. I mean, even after all I've done, and all the people that I've met, and everything that I've learned about my own emotional intelligence, I need a way to integrate it, to use all of it in my life.
And then, as the garden glowed and the sky went pink with the setting sun, while Auntie May listened closely with a gentle smile, it struck her. She remembered what her cousin had said about the Ikigai.
When all the important stuff happens at the same time.
And an image flashed into her mind.
Change that starts at home. That's it.
Her eyes opened wide and she jumped out of her seat.
I want to take all my interests and put them all together in a community home full of creativity, fresh veg, flowers and trees.
and this was her ikigai.
To do the work that I love with the people that I love.
And our divided world certainly needed some more togetherness. And if she could do it well, then surely she could be paid for it.
I don't want to wait for all those silly politicians to stop blaming each other. I can't put all of my hope in their hands, because it's impossible to trust them. Obviously, I can't fix all the environmental and social crises all by myself, but I need to do something. Something important. Something true. Something fun. As an example that others can follow.
That night, Lola had a dream. She saw spectacular veg gardens at the center of it all. She imagined old and new friends coming together to regenerate soils, plant seeds, build tiny houses, and to care for all the little beasties. She was excited to live so close to her friends and to nature.
Imagine all the events and parties we could have.
As they rewilded the land with native trees and wildflowers, Lola dreamt that they were also rewilding themselves as she saw her friends transform into fairies and elves and wild beasties. Lola dreamt of cleaning parties where they turned up the music to clean and boogie. And she dreamt that others would be inspired to create their own tiny house villages within the vibrancy of nature.
In tiny houses that all young people can afford to buy.
But when she told her friends about her dreams,
They all said, yeah, but we're all too busy to try it.
nobody wanted to sing together because they all said they couldn't sing. Clowns thought meditation was scary. And besides, being independent was so familiar, while sharing more felt weird and risky. And change was stressful, with a fair chance that things would get worse before they got better. If they got better. Lola felt totally crushed, with a deep worry. She felt like she had made an embarrassing mistake.
I can't believe I was so arrogant to think that I could do something that so many other people before me had failed.
Community living was famously messy, yet she was foolish enough to think that she could make it clean and fun. And she regretted spreading her attention to all the things she loved, instead of specializing in only one thing like everyone else did. She sat down to cry. When all the tears that needed to fall had fallen, she looked up at the moon and stars and remembered how everything is connected. Leroy and Lollipop had found her, and they both gave Lola some stinky kisses and licked the tears from her cheek, and then snuggled in close to keep her warm. And then she laughed, for no reason. And then again. The heaviness she felt in her chest was dissolving, and her mind clearing. And after sitting there a while, proud of how wonderfully colorful her life is, she decided to let go of panic, and not to rush or worry, because great things take time, after all. In the coming years, Lola will try again and fall down and get up many times. Through her hard work, her ikigai will change and evolve, and there will be times when she does something completely different. And she will realize that her friends and family have their own life journeys, and Lola can't expect them to change to fit her ikigai, no matter how much she wished for their support. On the way, she will learn about nonviolent communication, consent, decolonizing her mind, and sharing responsibility, as well as cliff jumping and swimming with whales. But that's another story.